Hey everyone, welcome to Talk Tank. I'm Olivia Palermo, your host, and as some of you may or may not know, cell phones will be banned in classrooms starting September, and a lot of people were quick to kind of jump on that, but I feel like there's a bigger conversation that we're not having. So that's why we're joined by Jen White. She's the coordinator for the Child and Youth Studies program here at the college, and our very own Al Johnson to weigh in on the topic. So let's get into it. I want to know, first of all, your thoughts on the ban.
I think that maybe not a ban is necessary, but something else is, like enforcing the rule that they have now, which is bring your phone, but you can bring your phone, but you can turn it off. But a ban just seems a little far.
I would agree with you. I think the ban is something that wouldn't be necessary if the policy at Niagara College and most secondary institutions was upheld. It wouldn't necessarily come to a ban, right?
Well, I mean, what's your perspective as a teacher and someone who also works in child and youth studies? How do you see that in your classroom?
Right. So in the child and youth care field, it's very experiential and relational. So students really need to be engaged face to face in the moment, and that's difficult when they're being distracted by cell phone use and social media, especially. Of course, we talk about the positives of cell phones and how great it is to keep track of what's due, what's coming up, what tests you have, and making notes. And so I don't know if a ban would be, sort of that necessary if it was followed that way.
Yeah, I mean, the first initial thought I had when I heard about the ban was, well, this is dumb. Technology is such a huge part of our lives, and especially children's lives now. Like, they get into it right when they're able to, have a distraction in their hands. So how is a ban and just pretending like it doesn't exist going to help? Do you guys think it's an injustice to just get rid of it? I mean, should we incorporate it in a better way?
I think there's an opportunity to teach proper usage of cell phones. I know you mentioned every student could benefit from how to use your cell phone effectively in a classroom, but not only that, our child and youth care students would benefit from using technology to benefit vulnerable populations. So when you talk about bullying, there are some really great apps out there for resilience and self-esteem building and things like that. So, and social skills. So those would be great to have as a lesson, and so I couldn't do that without having the cell phones in the classroom. And we do talk about those, and I do bring them up. We don't necessarily use them on everybody's phones, but it would be great to still have that to be allowed.
And how do we see cell phones affecting children today?
Well, I would say kids are, we're all addicted to it. Nowadays, you see kids throwing a fit in a grocery store. The parent just, here's my phone, here's a YouTube video. Where before, you used to see them, here's my keys, play with my keys. So it's an addiction, and if we can work on teaching, because we're the generation of technology, if we can teach the generation to be able to disconnect from their social media, because I know when I walk into a room and I'm like, where's my phone? It just feels weird when I don't have my phone on me. So if we can work towards being able to be healthy and still use our phone in a good way, in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that parents really have a responsibility to model good behavior with cell phones, and from being the older generation, I realized that we were not very prepared for what to do with our children. I have 20-somethings at home, so we didn't know what to do. And so knowing now what I know, back then I wish we had done more to prevent cell phone use when, people came over. We did it at the dinner table, but it just wasn't enough. I think that it just wasn't monitored like it should be. And then that sort of propelled everyone to be okay with cell phone use in any situation. And I think that's where maybe the children get upset and it's not well received.
And I do think that cell phones and technology in general does breed this kind of inability to connect with others. We just kind of rely on texting and emailing, and we don't have that face-to-face connection. So I do see that as a disservice to a lot of children. But do we think classrooms as a whole are outdated? Because that's my problem. I feel like our learning and our teaching style in general is just, it hasn't evolved with us.
I feel like I would appreciate having a text break in the classroom so the students could really get into their work, but know that there's a light at the end of that little hour that they have to pay attention and focus on being in the moment, and then have that ability to do what they need to do on their cell phone. And so with the band, that wouldn't be possible. I haven't tried this. This is not something I know would work, but it's something I would be willing to try. That seems a bit more friendly than saying you can't have it at all. That being said, I also appreciate that it's come to that point where no one knows what to do, and if it was possible to even allow some sort of penalty with grading against using cell phones. So if every time someone brought out their cell phone, they would likely lose a mark up to a certain point, of course, and then that might be something that would work. That's a little tougher.
I think that's an effective way to kind of use both hands and not ban it, but also not let it be invasive. So how do we feel this ban is going to affect the classrooms moving into the future?
I don't know. I feel like, because there's still going to be those rebellious kids that won't listen, because I know when I was in high school, if a teacher was like, give me your phone, you're distracting the class, that just made it worse. That distracted the entire class, and then the kid wouldn't want to listen, and then the principal had to get involved, and it just became a whole like ordeal where if that one student just listened the first time, it would have been done there. But that also comes on the parents. Like, my mom never said I wasn't allowed to bring my phone. I had my phone when I was 12 years old. That's when I got my first phone, and I've been bringing it with me everywhere since then. And I know boundaries, but at the same time, I will pull out my phone during class. So that does fall on parents to teach their kids, like, when is the right time to have their phone out and not.
Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on the future?
I agree with that. It's tough to say if nothing's worked so far. So I'm just concerned about the same things that you are, that it's just not going to be effective by saying that there's a ban. Who's enforcing that, and what are the enforcements that are going to go along with that? I think that's the question. And if someone wants to use technology in the classroom, are they still able to do that? That would be a question that I would have. So, yeah, I would hope that there'd be some sort of balance at some point. I think there's going to be some growing pains, but hopefully we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think the one thing about technology is it's hard to monitor short term. We're just going to have to wait and see the effects of the ban, and I think maybe cell phones in general for our younger population. But I think this was a great conversation to start with, so thank you both for joining me today on this episode of Talk Tank.
Thank you.
Thank you.